Welcome to another episode of the Reboot Chronicles, a no-holds-barred forum with global leaders, authors, entrepreneurs, and CEOs about how organizations stay focused on growth and innovation in unprecedented times. I'm your host, Dean Tobias, coming to you live from Reviv's North American headquarters in Chicago, and we would like to thank you for joining us from around the globe today. I'd like to welcome Tarun Katial to the Reboot Chronicles. He is the founder and CEO of Coto, a web-based social crypto community platform for women. Pretty exciting new venture that we're going to unpack today. He's an inspirational leader that has been the CEO of various media companies. And through that, he's literally transformed the way audiences view, consume, engage, and leverage traditional, digital, and social media platforms. Tarun, I usually see you running around the halls of Kellogg Northwestern, so it's so good to see you here.
Yeah, I know. It's so good to see you here, Dean.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. So much to talk about. A lot of the viewers know that I talk a lot about Web3 and the metaverse and stuff on the keynote that we've been doing around the world, but haven't really talked to a lot of Web3 companies that are going out in a very big way. So this is it's great to talk about that. And I'm never sure where to start because your story is so inspirational on how you got started. But I think maybe to start, let's just tell everybody exactly what it actually is. What is Coto and how does that, why is it Web3? Let's just kind of start with the basics.
So I think you can think of Coto as Reddit or Quora or even WhatsApp communities, but only for women, right? We are building a platform that allows women to have conversations that are pertinent, relevant, in an environment that is their own, that is dedicated to them. Over the years, we've seen that social media has kind of deteriorated for women, and there is enough work, study, conversations, whistleblowers that have actually shown us how algorithms are not helping women, and especially women and people of color, etc., uh, to find their own voice, to be able to find their own space, to be able to bond, to be able to find questions, answers, and even find their own identity. And so we realized that over a period of time that what we really needed was a free and safe space that was dedicated for women, but also a space that gave them true and equal participative ownership, because they are the ones who will go out and build the network effect. They are the
Right.
ones who will go out and build all the content, bring all the people onto the platform, and eventually own nothing, because like in the Web2 world, we all went on and invited our friends onto Facebook, or created following on Instagram, or invited people onto WhatsApp. But eventually it is Meta that owns the platform, owns all the data, and centers all the advertising that gets generated from all of that.
Right.
But here is an opportunity for women to be equal owners in what they create.
I love that part. I call the so we're all still living in a Web 2 world here and going into 2023 and 24, and it's so I call the Web 2 world kind of like the landlord oligopoly phase, right? So it's like you don't own anything, even your own photos sometimes, or at least you're not monetizing them. So the difference with you is not just creating communities for women. People have done that before all over the world, and some of them make a lot of money. But that whole democratization of the web space, and how do you see that evolving? Like, when are we going to get to a real Web3 type of world, mass market type of stuff?
So, that's the whole thing, right, Dean? We want to build a decentralized uh, platform that actually can be every woman's platform in the world. We don't want to do a very niche Web3, gaming, or Web3 D5 kind of solution, which are really good. Don't get me wrong, but they don't end up touching lives of many, many people across the world, right?
Right.
We had the option of doing a metaverse for women. We had the option of doing, more evolved stuff for women, which we will,
Yeah.
and that's the second stage, whether it's NFTs, whether it's metaverse. But I think at the first, we wanted to make sure that we were able to reward every action on the platform by putting it on the chain, doing an ERC21 token, which will eventually be traded in exchanges, which can be used to buy advertising on the platform, which can be used to buy discovery, which can use to be buying utilities on the platform, and really, building an ecosystem that thrives but also rewards everybody who creates that ecosystem with you.
Right. And you I love your story. I mean, this was inspired by an experience your wife had. Is that where the genesis of this came from, or were you already thinking about something like this in your next venture?
So, if you go back for my couple of decades of running businesses, media businesses,
Yeah.
digital businesses in India, I started with a News Corp network, in the year 2000, which was called Star TV in India, and News Corp, now Disney. And I remember very early days of working closely with James Murdoch, Rupert Murdoch, and we did a show called Who Wants to Be a Millionaire in India, which
Right.
became an
Great
instant
show.
hit and changed the fortunes of Star in India, much like what it did for Disney in the US, but
Hmm.
or ABC in the US, but I think it did a lot more for Star in
I think it
India.
was
And
a
that
bigger
show,
impact in India. Absolutely. It was
correct, the
amazing.
show continues to be running after 22 years, and it's still the top
Wow.
rated show in the country. So yeah, though it's moved networks because Sony eventually bought the franchise and then moved the franchise to their platform. But that apart, uh, the one thing we did on building on top of Millionaire was a lot of soap programming for women. India hadn't seen daily soaps, and
Uh,
India hadn't seen fiction programming at that scale and size. And so we built out women dramas, female-centric women dramas, which have lasted or which continue to rule the roost of mainstream television in India even today, 22 years down. And that gave me a huge connect with women audiences to understand what they needed, what was really happening. I moved my journey. I moved to Sony. I then started a big radio network in the country, and then at last, I ended up at one of India's largest streaming platforms, video streaming platforms, which I founded for another large network in the country called Z.
right.
But as I was exiting that in end of 2020, and pandemic actually, did a lot for video streaming, or did a lot for realizing that that consumers had moved digitally so quickly, and so on and so forth. I realized that even digital had been unfair to women like TV had been earlier, and there was very little good content that was available for women on even on streaming platforms. So I thought I started my journey by wanting to start a streaming platform for women, but I very quickly realized that the problem was even bizarre at the social media level, where women forget the curated content, but even the created content which women were creating themselves, they didn't have a voice even for that, and there were so many issues that women would like to have discussed. Whether it's sexual health, whether it's mental health, whether it was even small things like acne or pigmentation or periods or PCOS or thinking about body shaming and what should I wear for my wedding, all those kind of questions which really the current social media didn't do much for, right?
Right.
And there was a
Right.
certain sense of fear, a certain sense of almost a sense of social reprimanding if you would want to go and have these conversations on open social media.
Yeah, I love that. And it seems like you can do any genre. It seems like, games, as much as it's not a massive female environment, it's becoming more and more with young women and girls, and health and beauty and wellness, and you're not dictating any type of platform direction. It's like whatever they want to create on the platform, you're creating it in a you're also calling it a safe space, which is both both from a business point of view, not giving all the money away to the oligopolies, as well as just real safety in terms of online safety, or what's the uh, what's the importance
So I
there?
think I think women want to have a lot of conversations, but unfortunately, what has happened in the oligopoly and with all the big tech is that they don't want to take their best foot forward in making sure that trolling doesn't happen. Right? There's a amazing BBC Panorama study which talks about what really has big tech done for women, and it's unfortunate to say that
Yeah,
if you
not
get
much.
trolled, they will promote that content even more, right?
Right. Right.
Because for them, views matter, people's sanity doesn't matter, people's mental health doesn't matter. It's really about views, and views converting themselves into more and more advertising, right? And that's where we need to draw the line. We need to create a platform that women can do and say what they want to. They can find relevant, pertinent content, but also to find relevant, pertinent connections. And the other big difference is that it's not one to many, but it's many to many, so that people can come together and solve for these things, because not one person has the perfect answer for everything.
Right. And how does Koto stand out from a lot of the social community platforms that are out there now? So we've talked about monetization, obviously, so that's one. But what else is unique about it for them?
So so what we've really done is that we are not playing the big advertising game, but what we are playing really is, one, it's a safe space; two, you have participative ownership; but three, you have a suite of monetization opportunities which you choose from to be able to make this an entrepreneurial venture of your own, right? Whether you want to do product commerce, whether you want to do service commerce, whether you want to do paid communities, paid content, whether you want to do courses, whether you want to sell your own merch, whether you do want to do brand advocacy. We are only building the tooling and the infrastructure, and
Right.
eventually it's your revenue to take home. We will only take a platform fees out of it, and it's not that we are going to pump you with advertising and keep all of that for ourselves.
Yeah, that's very refreshing. So the monetization model it's almost like open source. They'll probably create new models as you go, stuff we haven't even invented yet, probably in this Web3
Yeah.
emerging world. And then you mentioned platform. So how does Koto make money?
So we get a platform commission for every checkout that is on commerce,
Yep.
whether it's service commerce, whether it's product commerce, whether it's brand advocacy, whether you want to deploy advertising in your community. We get a percentage and a slice of that, but we don't want to keep the entire thing and give you a slice of that.
Right. And if so, creators, influencers, just regular people, companies, little
Regular
companies,
people,
female
yeah,
led, can come on the
publishers.
platform and either set up shop, or it doesn't always have to be monetization, right? Is there multiple things that they can do besides?
They can first, at the start, they build communities and build connections, right? Because that's really the starting point. And if you build a great community and build great connections, whether you're a brand or a publisher, or whether you're a influencer, or whether you're somebody who's really close to a theme, you
Right.
first build connections, right? Once you start building connections, then you will know where your monetization journey goes, whether you can bring in content, or bring in yourself, or bring in live events which people find really precious and they're willing to pay money for, or you have a large enough base that advertisers are willing to fund for stuff you can do within the community. Think of this as is your community, right? You can decide
Hmm.
whether my
Yeah.
community is a paid community or a free community, and this could be very well a real life community.
So, elephant in the room. I mean, you and I have both run media companies, and so you've got the publishers, you've got the advertisers, whatever the networks, whatever you want to call them, the media, um, and then the audience. They always call it over here. It's a very different mix of money motivation stuff. Are those big gorillas going to be on the platform at some point? Let's just start with brands, advertisers, because that is what makes the world go round. If you add up every vertical, just take automotive, the billions of dollars they spend on advertising basically pays for a lot of things.
Yeah. So anyway, somebody has to pay for the lights, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, brands are very welcome to come onto the platform. They're very welcome to utilize the platform for the right reasons, to be able to both do community building but also do commerce on the platform, right? Do their own checkouts on the platform, to be able to get other creators, promote them on the platform, and it's a seamless journey. So if I'm as a creator of a community promoting a Unilever product, I can also directly refer people on to going on to the Unilever store,
Right.
or to go to the Unilever community, and then from there on, therefore. So, there are a lot of options for brands to be able to use the platform, to be able to, I won't use the word exploit the platform, but to be able to connect with the members, the relevant, pertinent communities. And also because communities are also built around themes.
Right.
Like if I'm a femtech brand, then I can easily find women who are dealing with that issue,
Hmm.
and go and help them, work with them, understand and get insights from them. Because you must realize that you're getting raw and real insights from these communities, which are precious, right? So if you do either your own community building or become a part of communities that are relevant to your genre, what you're learning from there, you won't be able to learn in all the research that you do in all of the place.
So brands could be on the platform, but not in an overwhelming, controlling way that we see in other platforms.
Correct.
Um,
It's a community owner's choice whether they want a brand to enter that community or whether they want advertising within their community feed.
yeah, and community ownership is their specific community. They don't own a piece of
Yeah.
coto, but these entrepreneurs own.
They also, once you build out in enough of a size of a community, because you get the token,
Yep.
you do participate in the value creation at Koto itself.
Yeah. So you recently announced, I think, 5,000 exclusive tokens for these early adopter creators. First of all, what does that mean to the audience listening in here, and how's that going?
So we've got non-fungible tokens, which is NFTs, which are being given out to women who bring in who the first 5,000 women who bring in 100 members each, right?
Yep.
And we're doing this because we want to really reward them, because that's the first flywheel of 500,000 users that come onto the platform, and I think they very well deserve an extra amount of incentivization, because you tend to forget the first early people who helped you build the community or the platform, right,
The
or the flywheel,
pioneers,
because as
absolutely.
the
Yeah.
correct, and these are the people who almost did the groundwork for you, right? So that's the thing. But the big program is the Kodo token program, where we give out Kodo tokens for every individual member that is referred onto the platform. It's different for different countries, and for early creators who come in and bring in, or early members who come in and bring in other members onto the platform,
Hmm.
we tend to keep giving them, but the value of the number of tokens we give you starts to reduce as we hit the S curve.
And as your audience gets bigger and bigger into the millions, and you have this, token exchange system, NFTs, are they only going to be your own, or I mean, there's already ecosystems out there, but these will be just more of the open sourced, monetization of
So
NFTs around the
correct.
globe, or how's it working?
So basically, there are two parts, right? The NFTs will be yours to sell in the open market after a year,
Okay.
and the tokens will also be listed on exchanges across the world for them to be liquid, and for users to be able to find their own monetization out of that. So if I a creator who got in, say, 1,000 members, and I got 2,000 tokens for that, I will hold on to the tokens, or I will sell them. I can decide to liquidate them, or I can decide to use them for further discovery on the platform, to be able to build an even bigger base of users on the platform.
Got it. So can we just break it down with a simple example? So let's say you have a female entrepreneur. She has a beauty company. She's selling, beauty products. We call them indie brands, right? Like right now on the platform, could I just, or could one of their community members just buy something and pay with a credit card? Do they have to use,
Yeah.
crypto right now?
So
How's
that's exactly the roadmap. But all commerce purchases will be in fiat. They don't need to pay crypto. The one thing we've kept very easy and seamless and frictionless is all the commerce revenue that happens on the platform, whether it's brands, whether it's creators. We don't want to create a friction of, hey man, the purchases are all happening through crypto, because that then just creates,
yeah, yeah, it's not the mass
that much more
market. Yeah,
friction.
that's why I asked.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's not
it's going to take a
no,
long
no.
time, and
The only thing that is on crypto is the tokens that you receive for referrals on the platform, but everything else is on fiat.
yeah. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
And what's your you've launched, and it sounds like you're in India, UAE, and a little bit of Asia, Singapore. Where's it available now?
So the Android platform is available globally, but the go-to community, as we call it, has been activated in India. We've got the first early 1,000 communities already onboarded, and now moving into Middle East. Clearly, the need for a platform like this in the Middle East is also even more acute than India, but it's also acute anywhere in the world, right? Women need a free space. Women need a
Of
space
course.
to be able to have the kind of conversations that are very relevant to them. We are open to adoption wherever women find this platform, easy, necessary, or relevant. and I think we're seeing a lot of inorganic, shoot green shoots happening across the world. But
Hmm.
in a planned and a phased manner, India, Middle East, Indonesia is our first go to market, and then we move to Brazil and North America and parts of Europe.
And as you look at launching in all these different countries, and you're a big media guy, you know how to scale. Which is what I like about you is what kind of what kind of partners are you looking for in terms of your expansion plans?
So we have two or three type of go to markets. One is token led growth, which is where we use big influencer marketing agencies who have a lot of influencers on the roster to be able to partner with them on a token option agreement,
Hmm.
where they get a certain volume of token for themselves, and then they bring in their influencer rooster to be able to then devise a strategy. They take on a target of, say, okay, we will bring in 5 million members, and then they, between all the influencers that they have, they decide how they're going to allocate tokens. They're going to optimize that and make sure that we onboard those many kind of members. Then there are brands and publishers, and there are also D2C companies. So if I'm a telecom company and I have a big loyalty program, then I have an opportunity to be able to give away coto tokens to my women subscribers as a part of my loyalty program. And so if I come through, say, Vodafone or AT&T onto the platform, then my sign up bonus is much higher than if I was to come directly onto the platform. So there are credit card companies, and then there are all kinds of loyalty programs, retail loyalty programs, who can decide to make this as a part of their benefits for their women consumers.
Yeah, clearly. And unlike the Web 2 landlord oligopoly phase, we're calling it here, do the community members get to participate in some of that rev share or whatever? I mean, if they've got a community of 100,000 women, and these big brands are able to monetize that, is that participatory as well for them?
Yes, every community creator chooses which brand they want to partner with. So we're building an adjacent
That is
a
huge.
marketplace.
That is amazing
Yeah.
because
So
no one's doing that
we're
right now.
correct. We're building a marketplace where if I'm a community creator, I choose which brands I want on my community. Whether so if I could be uh, a beauty community, then I can choose whether I want to partner with Unilever or L'Oreal or Mac or whoever,
Hmm.
right? And to
Right.
be able to do stuff in my community. And what I choose to be do in my community could be very different. Whether I want to do sampling in my community, whether I want to do commerce advocacy in my community to the Mac storefront, or whether I want to do just consumer testing and polls for that brand in my community.
Yeah, I love that, especially the beauty brands. I mean, it's going obviously it's going to be a massive category for you, given that it's you know mostly female led, but they are used to overpaying now, whether it's a retailer or a brand, overpaying these social media platforms to get access to influencers. And the model is it's upside down right now. If you look at what some retailers and brands are spending on influence, this allows them to or allows you to help them change the game. Obviously, more participatory at the independent level, right?
And what also happens, Dean, is that one, they're having a hard time getting this whole influencer marketing thing going. The other is when they buy direct digital advertising, there is really no way to know whether you're targeting women users or male users, right?
Right.
The all the data will never be able to give you more than 70-80% confidence score levels that you're targeting actually went to the right kind of gender. And neither Google nor Facebook can actually tell you that, yeah, okay, if you took female as your cohort, you actually delivered all your advertising to women.
Yeah. Some of them say they know, but yeah. No, the advertising, we won't go into that. That'll be a whole nother 2 hours, but just, some media companies are still operating like back in the 70s and 80s. They still don't know which half of your, ad spend is the most effective. So, and with all the
Correct.
technology we have, it should be much better. So
I mean,
you
all my career in digital advertising, we've tried to buy audiences, but when you go down to look at Nielsen DAR, right,
Yeah.
it never shows up for more than 50, 60, 70% of confidence level. Yeah.
What's your a lot of entrepreneurs listening to our program, as well as corporate people and leaders and all types of business folks, but as well as people looking to do their next move and maybe doing a startup like you. So a couple things I love to hear is what's the culture like? I know you're like a remote first company, but you're headquartered in Mumbai, but you've got people all over the world.
Yeah, so actually, we are headquartered out of Singapore. I myself am out of Mumbai. The way we hire or we build teams is that we want to make sure that we trust you, right? If you've signed up to do a job, you will do it. So we
Hmm.
don't really need you to come into office. For that, we can helicopter you and ensure that you get the job done, right? We are very heavy on collaborative tools, whether it's Slack or Notion or anything else. We want to make sure that we hire within a certain time zone. So we do between CET, which is Eastern Europe, and Taiwan, Singapore time. So everybody lies within the time zone so that we can get enough overlap time. But we are a talent first, role first, location agnostic company. And so we have people from all across the world working with us without really, judging them or determining whether they what race or color or gender they come from, right? And that's good. And what age they are at, right? There are kids or they're young folks who are 19, 20 working with us, and then there are much older people like me and older who partake the entire process, right? And that's what we really want to do. We want to trust people, we want them to have a good time, and we want them to collaborate without having those geographic, social, cultural boundaries being put onto them.
Yeah, brilliant. And where's it going? Just paint me a picture. Three three to five
Yeah.
years from now.
So
What?
really, where it's going is really, like you said, it's going to be more and more participative ownership, but also the whole monetization suite is going to be expanding itself. It's going to evolve. We don't know what all opportunities and options when members and community owners come together they can create, and what are the things really members want of community creators, or what community creators think they can offer members, right? And we are just an infrastructure tool. We are just a conduit in making sure that that match happens. Also, the way brands start to look at communities versus looking at social media, I think that's a big shift that brands are now starting to make.
Hmm.
And I'm hoping that, whether it's selling in community marketplaces, whether it's, engaging with communities, it's going to be very different from what has happened on TikTok or Instagram or even versions of Facebook, right?
Right.
The other large piece is the kind of content. So content is not limited to the feed, but it's also a lot of Q&A content, right? I think there are lots of questions to be answered, and there hasn't been justice done where people are able to freely ask and collaborate and get answered. I mean, look at TripAdvisor. It became a phenomena because it only answers pertinent questions around travel across the world, right? and
Right.
and now they brought commerce and so on and so forth. But all of us, first, which who lived in the Lonely Planet rough guide world, then shifted to TripAdvisor to get all those answers all the time.
Right. It's good. Good story. Taryn, thank you for joining us today. Can you share anything, just personal story about? You've talked about how you're rebooting this industry. You've got a big task on your hands ahead of you here. But anything about rebooting yourself that might be interesting for our listeners? What they could learn from?
So I've been a meditation practitioner for about 20 years. Uh,
Ah, didn't
I
know
do
that.
a form of meditation called Vipassana. It's a Buddhist form of meditation. It really centers you. I've been an avid practitioner, listener, and I go to retreats, and I think it's helped me to realize that eventually business should be purpose driven. Business is good, commerce is good, but if it has purpose behind it, then it energizes you, it motivates you, and it also motivates everybody around yourself, right? And I'm a huge believer in making sure that the uh, the vibe is right when you get down to doing something. You don't come from a sense of greed or fear or some of those plethora of negative emotions.
Hmm.
But you come into it very sincerely and happily, right? And I think happiness creates more happiness. Mental stability creates more mental stabilities. What we call in Buddhism samatha, which is really equanimity, allows you to realize that really everything is impermanent in life, right?
Right.
And so
Yeah.
that's really my goal, to eventually try getting as detached as possible.
I love that. I should say I need that actually, and I think more companies need that. Have you been able to bring that into your companies? That
Yeah, as much
mindset.
as possible. Yeah, as much as possible. I always encourage all my senior team members to take a 10-day retreat. We actually, in my last few companies, we used to do that. We wouldn't like take it out of your annual leave if you go to a meditation retreat.
Right. Beautiful. All
Yeah.
right, we're going to leave it there. You've been listening to Tarun Katial, who is the CEO of Coto, great new Web3 company that you should check out. This is Dean DeBias with the Reboot Chronicles. I want to thank you for joining us today, and we will see you soon.